Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever thought about what it would take to get a brand new laptop right to your door in just 10 minutes? I mean, it sounds kind of like magic, doesn't it? Well, for a little while, it was a real promise from the world of quick commerce. But today, we're going to dig into how that amazing dream turned into a massive logistical glitch.
And this quote from the co-founder of the electronics brand Bolt Audio, well, it just nails the problem on the head. It really gets to the core of our story today. You have this exciting promise for the customer, but then you have the incredibly complicated and fragile reality of actually making it happen. You see, this was never a sales problem. It was a total operations nightmare.
All right, so let's rewind a bit. When quick commerce giants like Blinkit and Zepto first said they were getting into electronics, it was a huge deal. I mean, for us consumers, it felt like the ultimate convenience. And for the electronics brands, it looked like a golden ticket, a totally new way to get their products into our hands.
And at first, wow, it was an absolute dream come true. Varun Gupta from Bolt Audio, they make headphones and smartwatches, he said their sales just went through the roof. It was this massive, almost unbelievable spike in orders. Just imagine seeing your products flying off the virtual shelves faster than you ever thought possible. It really must have felt like the future had finally arrived.
And listen to how ambitious this was. We're not just talking about a pair of earbuds here. These platforms were listing everything, from personal gadgets like smartwatches to office stuff like laptops and printers. They even tried selling big home appliances, like air conditioners. The goal seemed to be, if you can think of it, we can get it to you in 10 minutes.
Right, but that excitement didn't last very long. Pretty soon, the dream started to glitch out, and that whole idea of the backend breaking became a really harsh reality. So let's get into it. What exactly is the backend, and why did it break so spectacularly?
Okay, so here's the absolute heart of the problem. On one side, you've got your traditional e-commerce, like an Amazon. They work out of a few dozen gigantic, centralized warehouses, and they restock them maybe once a week or every 2 weeks. But on the other side is quick commerce. Their whole model depends on hundreds of tiny, local warehouses that have to be restocked every single day. The scale and the speed are just on a completely different planet.
And those tiny warehouses, they're called dark stores. You can't just walk into them like a regular shop. They are basically mini fulfillment centers, and they are optimized for one thing and one thing only: getting small items like groceries packed and out the door in minutes. They're built for speed, not for holding bulky electronics or a huge variety of different models. And that detail right there is key to this whole story. So this forced electronics companies into a totally new world. They suddenly had to act like they were selling fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG. They were expected to forecast demand for every single neighborhood, move their stock around constantly, and restock daily, just like a company that sells milk or bread. It required a system that one founder actually described as paranoid, neurotic, and half-insane just to keep up.
Now, if just managing small gadgets was that hard, you can only imagine what happened when they tried selling the big, expensive stuff. This is where the model didn't just glitch, it pretty much crashed and burned. Let's look at exactly why.
And here's a perfect real-world example for you. The company Havells tried selling its Lloyd brand air conditioners on Blinkit. The experiment? It failed miserably. So why? Well, think about it. A tiny, dark store can maybe hold 1 or 2 different AC models max. But when you're about to drop a lot of money on an air conditioner, you want to compare brands, you want to see different features, check prices. The platform just couldn't give people the choices they expect for a big purchase.
This quote right here, it just sums up the whole problem with how we, as customers, think. Quick commerce is built for impulse buys. I need milk right now. But a really expensive laptop? That's not an impulse. That's an investment. It's a planned purchase that takes research and thinking, a process that the 10-minute delivery model just isn't built for.
And then you've got the cost. Let's be real. Quick commerce is a premium service. It costs 3 to 4 times more than standard delivery. Now, for low-margin stuff like groceries, maybe that can work. But for expensive electronics that already have pretty thin profit margins, the math just completely falls apart.
Let's just run through some of the other roadblocks, because believe me, there were a lot. I mean, think about it. A 15% return rate is already tough, but trying to handle the return of a TV on a scooter, that's a logistical nightmare. And how do you offer financing, like monthly installments, which are crucial for big purchases, on a platform built for instant payments? Throw in safety issues with delivery and the huge amount of cash just sitting there in one unsold laptop, and you can see why the model just became unworkable.
But you know what? This isn't just a story about failure. It's actually a story about learning and adapting really, really fast.
both the platforms and the brands pretty quickly realized they had aimed way too high. So they started this major reset to figure out what actually works for 10-minute delivery.
And the new strategy that came out of this was crystal clear. First, stick to small personal gadgets. We're talking headphones, chargers, maybe a hairdryer. Second, keep the price tag low, typically under about 3,000 rupees. And third, really prioritize the kinds of things people might actually need in a hurry. A true impulse buy, not something you have to save up for.
And guess what? It's actually working. For a brand like Bolt, quick commerce now makes up a very respectable 15% of its total revenue. For their competitor Noise, it's about 8%. So it shows that while it might not be the massive market they first dreamed of, it has definitely carved out a pretty significant and profitable little niche for the right kind of products.
So this all leads to a really fascinating question about what's next. The model didn't work for big electronics this time, but the technology and the logistics are getting smarter every single day. So what do you think is going to be the next impossible category that they actually managed to crack for 10-minute delivery?
Okay, so before we wrap this all up, let's do a quick run-through of the key takeaways from all of this.
So, what did we learn today? Well, we saw that the 10-minute dream was way bigger than the logistical reality. The back end, all that inventory and warehousing stuff built for groceries, it just broke under the pressure. And at a fundamental level, the whole impulse buy model of quick commerce just clashed with the careful, planned way we all buy expensive things. But out of that glitch came a reset, and the industry found its real sweet spot: small, low-cost gadgets that are actually a perfect fit for that 10-minute promise.
And that just about wraps up our look at the 10-minute glitch. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more explainers like this one. Thanks so much for watching.